More than 1,000 years ago in northern Yucatan, Maya people from the great city of Coba built a 60-mile stone causeway to Yaxuna, imposing alliance on the local government. When warriors of Uxmal joined this alliance, Yaxuna found itself at the heart of a war against legendary Chichen Itza, a war the alliance clearly lost. I'm David Friedel, principal investigator for the Yaxuna Archaeology Project. For 8 years now, we have excavated the ruins of Yaxuna, discovering the ancient story of its kings and people, and the dramatic events that led to its destruction and war. To conduct their battles, the Alliance built this war council house. But we found this building ritually destroyed by the warriors of Chichen Itza. We call this termination ritual, and it is one of our most important discoveries here.
The Kolheim believes they had a termination ritual where they found the building burned and collapsed on top of the skulls of 28 individuals, men, women, and children that had been cut off, put on a platter, and dropped into a pit. Then they burned their building and threw it down on top of them. That's pretty dramatic evidence. There's no indication that this is anything more than the deliberate smashing of these water jar sherds right here. And then the building's brought down on top of them.
Well, you'll notice if you look at the columns here that they're all cut off at about the same level. They destroyed the building's front at about the same level all the way along. And I become convinced in thinking about it that they did this not for symbolic reasons alone, but for technical reasons. They pulled out the front of the building to this level because that was what was necessary to bring the stone roof of the building down onto the floor.
One of the things that's wonderful about Yaxuna is that there's architecture that's this well preserved right underneath the surface. I mean, here's a perfect example of how far we've had to dig to find this wall. It's less than 20 centimeters below the ground.
When David Johnston excavated this building, he discovered an oval subterranean chamber that we believe is a sweat bath. He discovered, amidst layers of ash and smashed pottery, the better half of a large sculpture in the round, a sculpture, we believe, that represents the moon goddess, Ixchel.
¡Ya estuvo! ¡Está bien!
Some of these temples were built 500 years before Yaxuna was destroyed. In 2 of these early pyramids, we found royal tombs. Burial 24 is the final resting place of a defeated and decapitated king. Altogether, 10 victims surrounded the king, probably his family. In the temple above, we found his royal jewels cached in a black pot with an axe jammed into it.
So we came down on this and there was a vessel sitting in here. We brushed away a little bit and started seeing green. We got kind of excited. And about 30 minutes later, we had a jade necklace perfectly articulated within the body of the vessel. I'd never seen that much jade in one place.
During our work in the rainy season, the days have a certain rhythm, and thunderheads rise up in the late afternoon sky. The modern village of Yaxuna stands on the eastern edge of the ancient city, and its people help us excavate the ruins. We've been working here for 8 seasons, and over the years the people of Yaxuna have learned how to be pretty good archaeologists. There are some people who are really expert forensic anthropologists. This was especially valuable for us in 1993, when we had 2 royal tombs, because those bones had to be really carefully excavated. Burial 23 is the first sealed tomb ever discovered by archaeologists in Yucatan. Co-director Charles Suler found it through careful and inspired excavation. Sharon Bennett, our project osteologist, excavated the tomb itself.
We excavated out there, found a late burial out there that's just thrown into a pit with a bunch of animal remains. At that point in time, we started going 2 different ways with 2 different crew of guys. One crew went down looking for the stairs and clearing. The other crew, we started pulling up through here, clearing the passage. And we went down, probably over 2 meters. And I came down here and saw about from my arm up of this part exposed, and there's a hole. It is obviously a void. First I looked in there, and all I saw was rocks. And I was like, damn, there's nothing here or it's empty. And as my eyes adjusted, it was like, no, there's something there. And the only thing you could see in here was the vessel, the ceramic vessel standing on its end, and the remains of the skull. We're 13 meters below the plaza floor as you walk up. It's early classic tomb, maybe 350 AD. This is a hot spot. There'll probably be a lot more stuff coming out of here. You can see jade glistening down in here, so we'll get down in there and get more green. What we'll do is bring people in from the outside. They'll walk on the cut floor, they'll stop at a certain point, and they'll be able to look down into a Maya tomb. And there's not many places you can do that, but here we've decided in advance to tie that objective into the excavations.
We want tourists to come here and see active research. We want tourists to get explanations from living Maya about what their ancestors did. It's going to take years to get to where people here are able to walk around these ruins and tell people about them. We want people who come to look at the building to appreciate the fact that the building is destroyed, that it didn't just fall apart, but that it was in fact ruined intentionally. And in the meantime, we are stabilizing and consolidating this building to reflect that final victory statement by the forces of Chichen Itza. And it's important, in my opinion, for people who come to Maya ruins to begin to appreciate this junction between the dramatic events of the past and the peaceful ruins of today. We can imagine in the middle of the night, the ancestors went inside these chambers and held vigil and fasted and prayed and burned copal incense and gave blood in sacrifice so that they could have the visions, the waking dreams that would guide them in policy, so they could be good in government. These are the same people who are here today, speaking the same language, growing the same crops, and living in the same villages as their ancestors did. Recently, one of the men here asked me, "Are we going to find more jade in these pyramids?" And I said, "The real treasure of this place is not the jade, which we will find. The real treasure here is the knowledge of what these ancient people did